Hello everyone, and welcome back to another test ride first impressions video. And today I'm out again with Chorley Yamaha on their MT weekend, and this time I've gone a bit off-piste a little bit. Now I'm very aware that pretty much all my reviews up to now have been on large capacity multi-cylinder bikes. Well, a bit different today. I am testing today Yamaha's 2018 MT03, and this is the smallest capacity bike I've ridden in a while, and I thought, just for comparison, just to see what else is out there, what's cooking in the motorcycle world these days, I thought I'd give this one a try, because I have noticed that the 250, 300, sort of 400 size bike is now becoming popular again. Now this sort of capacity engine was all the thing when I was first starting out back in the days of yore, and this would be generally what you would ride as something like your first bike from passing your test, would be something of this power and capacity. That is of course in the days before direct access and A2 licenses, things like that. And obviously not everyone who passes their motorcycle test in the UK could afford to ride something like a you know, an MT10 or an MT09. So if you're an 18-year-old young fella or young girl setting out in your first ever motorcycle and you've passed the restricted license, so you're now on an A2 license, what's out there for you to ride? Well, there's a whole slew of bikes you can choose from purpose-built low-capacity bikes such as this, the GSX-R 250, the Z300, the Z400, or there's also reduced power versions of your full-size bikes. You know, you can get your MT07 or your Ninja 650 reduced in power so that it's compatible with your A2 license. But say if you're just starting off, 18 years old, you've got zero experience on motorbikes other than what you've been taught in your motorcycle lessons and your test, I think there's definitely a place to learn the craft, as it were. And that even something like the MT07 is quite a pokey, powerful bike. And yeah, if you're reasonably sensible about these things, you can ride an MT07 or even an MT09 as your first bike from passing your test. I keep trying to change up a gear, you've noticed. And I'm actually in top gear. But I think there is a lot to be said for spending a couple of years, especially when you're like a late teenager, early 20s, just absolutely getting used to life on the road, and these smaller capacity bikes are a great way of doing that. So, first impressions. Well, I'm a biggish kind of guy, you know, 6'1" and a bit, you know, 15 stones in weight without my kit on. So I prefer a larger size of bike just to fit my frame on. Now when I sit on this, the first thing I kind of feel is I am a little bit hunched over it. It is a very small bike, and the cockpit is very close to you. You know, the bars are quite close in distance away from your sort of central core. So for me, I feel like I'm a little bit hunched over it, and I feel like my knees are a little bit bent to sort of accommodate them on the pegs. Well, that's not to say if I don't put a proper posture in and straighten me back deliberately, it's actually okay. For me, I would want these clamps to be another 2 inches higher, and then it'd be spot on, perfect. The seat is feels comfy enough. It's firm to soft. It's not rock hard like the MT09 or the MT07. but it's, yeah, it feels comfy enough. The one thing I don't like about the seat is it's got a bit of a seat hump, which I'll show you on the walk around, which is pressing into my coccyx, misses. It's pressing into my lower back, and that would kind of annoy me after a little bit, but I think this bike has been designed for a smaller person than me. If you were of average height, then you would probably find it absolutely superb. Comfort wise, it's alright, it's good. So what's on this bike? Well, it's a parallel twin, I think. I think it's a 310cc. Again, your boy has poorly researched his subject, so here are the facts and figures for the 2008 MT03. Memory serves something around 42 horsepower, something like that. And not very many foot-pounds and newton-meters of torque, but that's not what this bike's for. It's not meant to be powerful, it's not meant to be a torque monster. It's aimed at your absolute inexperienced entry-level rider on a restricted license, or someone of small stature who just wants a perfectly adequate mode of transport, which this does. So yeah, there's not a great amount of power in here. However, but I am on a group ride with a R1, an MT10 SP and an MT09 SP, and I'm keeping up with them perfectly fine because we're going normal traffic speeds. So yeah, if you wanted to ride around on a mode of transport, this will do it for you. It'll do it comfortably, and it will do it with absolutely mind-bendingly good MPG. I reset the average MPG as I was before I started the video, and I've come about 5 or 6 miles, and it's not even on motorway or anything, it's showing 80.6 miles per gallon. Now those are numbers that, yeah, when you're talking mode of transport, yeah, 80 miles per gallon, 80 miles per gallon, that's pretty damn good. Bearing in mind that when I was riding my Tuono, that did 27, go figure. So yeah, good economical bike. Now the lack of power and torque on this bike means that you can relax and just enjoy riding along on it. It's got non-adjustable, conventional right way uppy, non-inverted front forks, and again a very generic rear shock absorber. But at the end of the day, this bike's coming in a little over £5,000, brand spanking new on the road, and for that you're not going to get fully adjustable suspension, you're not going to get Öhlins or KYB suspension, and neither should you expect. That being said, rather like the MT07, it feels well sprung, and I'm on the heavier side of average, and there's a little bit of bounce from the rear shock, but it feels damped well enough to mop up the road surface. It's a smooth riding bike. I can't feel the road surface very much through the tyres. I am at 5,000 RPM doing 50 miles per hour. I'm getting no vibrations through the bars or through the pegs. Well, nothing that would cause you any trouble. There's a discernible hum, but that's about it. But you're to be expecting that, you're riding a motorbike. And to be fair, it's actually a very comfortable ride. Smooth, the suspension is not too soft to be overly plush, but saying that though, it's not firm that you start to feel the bump. So they've done a good job of springing this bike correctly for the average rider, because that's all they can do at the end of the day when they're sending out a non-adjustable bike into the world. They've got to make it suit most people. Now the much more powerful bikes can obviously pull ahead quite quite readily on this, but it gets up and moves. You know, it's not embarrassing itself, and it's very agile. Feels like it's got quite a short wheelbase, this bike. Feels very agile. It's not absolutely on rails in the corner, but then again I think I was relying a little bit heavy on the trail braking then, so I'm reserving judgment on the handling just now. But it will get you up to motorway speeds in good time. You don't feel like you're being held up in traffic. You'll certainly beat all the cars to road speeds, which is always the point. And this little 300cc engines are howling away under me, not feeling very stressed at all. I'm not very high up in the rev range, doing a very respectable road speed here. So yeah, got to say, you know, I'm quite surprised. I was expecting to have to absolutely rev the backside out of this thing to get it to do anything, and I don't. I absolutely don't. Quite surprising, really. Now, brakes wise, this MT03 is rocking a single disc up front. I'll show you later on the walk around, with a pretty generic twin pot caliper on it, and something quite generic on the rear as well. And as such, the brakes work. They work as they have to, and no more. There is very little initial bite on them. You know, they stop you. Yes, they do work, but you just coming from a more sporty bike myself, you do have to squeeze them quite hard to get them to start stopping the machine, to give you the sensation that you are actually coming to a controlled slowdown. But once it starts, they actually do work. And they work as well as they need to. You know, they're not going to. You're not going to be pulling stoppies on this thing, or at least not with the way that they've got the rubber hoses and the stock pads in. And you do find you have to hold them on a little bit longer when you're slowing down, but yeah, they bring you to a stop, which at the end of the day is what brakes are designed to do: make you stop. Okay, see on the tack there, on this analog tack on the display, I'm not barely halfway up the rev range before I'm changing up to keep up with these much bigger bikes. So yeah, there's power there to be used. Obviously it's not going to be anything like your 650, your 600, 650s, because it's half the capacity. But yeah, it does a perfectly adequate job of getting up and moving. And if you're 18 years old just setting out in the world on a motorbike, this will feel fantastically fast, because you've never ridden on the roads before, you know. It will certainly feel considerably faster than a 125 that you've been riding when you were 17 years old. And it's a perfect step up from that capacity of bike. So on the features of this bike in the cockpit, it's got a very, very basic instrument display, which, being an entry-level budget bike, you're gonna get. However, for all that, it's got all the information you could ever need. Nice big analog tack, which I quite like because all bikes used to have them at one time. You know, so nice big friendly analog tack with a little LCD sub display with a fuel gauge, which is winner winner chicken dinner. A fuel gauge on a bike of this sort of price range, that's got to be good. Temperature gauge, which is a bit odd on a bike these days. On a, you know, temperature gauge, you don't know, it's normally something a bit of a you have to find in the menus. Gear indicator, brilliant, a gear indicator. Another thing that you'd be surprised to see on an entry-level bike. Gear indicator, absolutely top notch. And you've got a big speed display and a fully functional trip computer with two independently settable trip computers, which are a bit of a faff. I can do it now, we're coming to a stop. A bit of a faff to select because you have to press these little buttons, and with a gloved hand it's a bit tricky, but yeah, you've got two trip computers with average speed, with average fuel, current fuel, trip time and miles, and the odometer, which has done 18 miles. This is how far this bike has come. It's 18 miles old. So what shall I put it on? I shall put it on average MPG again. So yes, everything you need from a display is here. No, it's not fancy dancy, but neither would you expect it to be on a £5,000 motorcycle designed for entry-level riding. It does, however, do everything you need it to. God damn, that R1 sounds nice with its link pipe installed. Yeah, so obviously it's lacking off the mark when you compare it to an MT09, an MT10 and an R1, but yeah, I've just got myself clear of traffic there. They're all in my rear view mirror now and I have empty road ahead. And that's the beauty of motorcycles of any capacity, even a 125. Can't fault it for that. Let's get this mirror right. The mirrors, again, are the stock MT mirrors. I don't seem to have quite the view behind me that I had on the MT07, more akin to what I have on my MT09 SP, which is why I'm going to bar end mirrors on my bike. So yeah, there's half of the view at least is taken up by my elbows, and they do vibrate a little bit as you approach higher revs, but not to the point of unusability. And I keep trying to switch up a gear and I'm already in top gear. Now, I always like to do a walk around about this point in one of my test rides, but unfortunately I'm on a group that's not going to be stopping. So what I will do, I will just send you across to my colleague Future Dave, who's going to do a walk around for you at Chorley Yamaha. So over to you, Future Dave. Okay, thank you, past Dave. And here we are back at Chorley Yamaha doing a little bit of a walk around the 2018 Yamaha MT03. And straight away you can still see that even though it's one of the smaller MTs, it's still got that typically MT profile to it, that sort of forward favoured angular poise. It's a very attractive look on a bike, is that. It shares a lot of the design traits with the MT07 for my eye. It's got that same sort of shaped headlight unit, the same non-inverted front forks, non-adjustable, and this is the little generic twin pot caliper on the front single disc. As I said in the ride along there, it's not the best brakes, but they will stop you if you haul on them hard enough. And a little generic single pot on the back, but yeah, they do what they're designed to do. But yeah, very, very attractive little bike, and I tell you what, it gets up and go as well for a little 300. Yamaha's usual fit and finish, which you know is going to be able to be relied upon. It comes fully with ABS brakes and the like. Yeah, you could really enjoy yourself on one of these if you were like an 18-year-old guy or gal and you want to step up to your next thing. There's absolutely worse choices to make here. Anyway, back to past Dave. Yes, future Dave there with the Walkaround of the 2018 MT03. Yeah, quite a pretty bike really, isn't it? You know, just because it's a budget entry-level bike doesn't mean it has to be an ugly thing. So just for a bit of a difference, we're just pulling onto the motorway at the M6, so this will be quite interesting to see what this bike's like on the motorway stroke freeway stroke interstate, whatever you want to call it in your country. Right, well, it's got up to 70 miles an hour, which is the speed limit in the UK. It's got up there, no problem. There's absolutely no effort getting it up here, and it's doing it slightly under 7,000 RPM, which is actually quite admirable. I would expect that riding a 300cc motorbike on the motorway, and bearing in mind I have ridden 250cc 4-strokes on motorways many times in my life when I was a motorbike courier, and that was a tiresome affair, that really was. Well, this little thing's engine's howling away and it's doing quite a good job of it. Obviously it's a naked, so there's wind noise, but it's completely smooth because there is nothing in front of me to chip it up and try and make any kind of wind protection. The best way to deal with the wind if you've not got any wind protection is just have a naked bike, because wind at 70 miles an hour actually isn't a big problem. I don't know why people hide from it. Oh, this is okay. Holding 70 miles per hour at 7,000 RPM. The bike's not wringing its neck to do it. It feels like there's still a little bit in there. If I needed to overtake, I could do. It's coming towards the end of its power, but it's still there enough to just give it, you know, if you needed just to pass someone doing 68 miles per hour and you wanted to do 70, yeah, you could pass. So, who is Yamaha's target market with this MT03? Who would I personally recommend it to? I see all the unbelievers, your target audience. Well, in that, I would say if you were a young rider stepping up for the first time from a 125, you've say in the UK you've just got your restricted A2 license, this bike would make a hell of a lot of sense to you, because it's a perfect step up in power from what you're used to, and you're now entering the world of, you know, a real motorcycle. Because one thing it does, and does really well, is be a town machine. This around a big urban area would be absolutely perfect, and you wouldn't have to necessarily, if that's what you would do, say if you live in a big major city and that's where you do all your riding, that's where you live, and you just want a mode of economical transport that is not going to break the bank and is going to keep you running reliably, perfect bike right here. And if I was to pick up any negatives on this bike, there's only one that's really paramount in my mind, and it is subjective to my body shape, and that is the cramped riding position and the way that the rear seat hump keeps knocking me in the back of the spine. But I think that's more to do with my shape than an actual generic design flaw in the bike. You put someone on this bike 5'7", something like that, probably for what it's designed for, be perfect. And one thing I really do like, the indicator switch is a proper indicator switch. Look at it, it's a proper old school indicator switch. I love it. Oh yeah, no hitting the horn by accident on this bike. So yeah, the MT03 2018 from Yamaha. Small capacity, but it's got a bit of heart. I'd recommend it if you're a young fella, young girl, stepping up a little bit. Good bike. So please, if you like and subscribe to my channel, that'd be excellent. And once again, thank you very much to Chorley Yamaha for allowing me to ride their bikes today. It's been a great fun day, and I will include links to their business website and their Facebook sites in the description below. And if you're in the northwest of England and you're in the market for a Yamaha, there are much worse places you could go for it, because you know, far from being a celebrity endorsement, I personally have bought 3 brand new bikes from Chorley Yamaha, passing 2 much nearer dealerships to do so. That's how I trust them. Great bunch of guys, go in there, they won't steer you wrong. They'll sell you the bike that you want, that you need, at a very respectable price. Anyway, that's all from me. I'll see you in the next chapter. Bye bye.